Hi, Nancy Spears, and today I have the privilege of talking to Rita Braver, who's the national correspondent for CBS News on Sunday morning. Hi, Rita, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
It's great to see you here.
Thank you. It's great to be in Aspen, I have to say.
Absolutely. There's so many women around the world that really admire you for not only your gifts and talents in broadcast journalism, but basically your ability to kind of embrace life on all levels, really show the balance, which is hard to do in a job like yours, because, I mean, what are the hours of your job, if you could summarize those?
You know, I will say that I could not do the job I did now when I was a mom, because I travel 150 days a year for Sunday morning. I sometimes will work straight through weekends. I fly out somewhere in the morning, and if it's not an overnight trip, I get back at midnight. And so I knew in my heart the kind of mother I was, that was not for me. I was first a producer, and then I became the CBS News law correspondent while my daughter was young. And although I traveled for that job, it was kind of manageable travel. And then I went on to cover the White House, where I also had really, really bad hours. But by then, my daughter was a junior in high school and studying in her room all the time. She never came out anyway, so my being gone wasn't such a big deal. But with a young child, I think you have to make a decision to put your family first. That was always it for me.
Sure, and leading by example. So what do you think your daughter at a young, impressionable age, just seeing you work as hard as you do, what do you think she garnered from that?
Well, it's an interesting, we have a debate in our family, because my daughter, who is 35 and the mother of my wonderful, beautiful grandson, has chosen a different kind of life. She has chosen to do freelance work from home, and be a mom, although she does have some help. And she always says, now I never missed a school performance. We were with her almost every weekend. I rarely had to work on weekends. Never took a vacation without her till she went to college. So I was with her a lot, but I think she has just decided, as a lot of girls of her generation have, that she wants to spend some more time. When my daughter was young, I would occasionally flirt with the idea of stopping to work. And I would say to my daughter, you know, well, what if I didn't work? And she had a nanny who was with her from when she was born to when she went to college. And she would say, well, what would Nanny do? And I'd say, well, Nanny, which is true, wants to work a little less. And then she'd say, well, are you going to be one of those mothers who comes around the school all the time and spies on their children? And I would say, well, I might want to do something. She'd say, keep your job, have a good job. Now she says that she wants to be one of those mothers who's at school spying on their children all the time. So I think that's an interesting point.
That's so funny. The wisdom goes both ways, right? We learn from each other, our children, and they learn from us.
The other thing I think is that, you know, I feel for most mothers in our country, working is not so much of a choice as it is a necessity. And I was lucky because I was in an industry, frankly, where I was paid quite well. I had a husband who not only was earning, you know, a very good salary, but I had a husband who was a real partner in raising our child. And I think that there's so many women struggling to do it by themselves, or who are doing it purely for economic reasons. They have to get to work very early. They may have to leave their children with, you know, indifferent child care, depending on what they're able to afford. And those are the mothers that I worry about, that they are missing out on the enjoyment of their children, and then they are working so hard that their lives are just, you know, it's just like putting one foot in front of the other. So I wish there were more ways that those women in our society could get support.
Is there any advice you could give to a woman, a working woman, a hard-working woman that can't seem to get off the treadmill, and you know yourself, the passion is so much to really want to be with their child, but they also have to do a good job?
Look, I wasn't the first wave of the women's movement. I was sort of the second wave of the women's movement, and my friends and I talk about this sometimes. You know, gosh, when I first started in the CBS News Washington bureau, there was one woman correspondent, and Leslie Stahl and Connie Chung had just been hired like a year or two before I got there. And that was such a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
And then I became a correspondent later. And really, for us, the fact that we could have these jobs, that someone was going to let us do that someone could be an executive or a television correspondent or an editor of the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Those were things that people felt they had to do if those jobs were offered to them. So I think, and you know, I know a lot is being debated with the Sheryl Sandberg.
Lean in.
Yeah, lean in, and also the other side of it.
Right.
I think our friend Elsa Walsh, who is married to Bob Woodward and is also a writer of her own right, wrote a great piece basically saying women need to lean any way they want to lean. Right. And my advice to people is you do what's right for you and your family, and don't feel the pressure to work in a certain way just because somebody else tells you that you have to work that way.
That's fantastic, because you clearly did break through the glass ceilings, but then I guess we kind of set the level of the ceiling, so to speak. And
the other thing I think for moms, and I think people don't usually worry about this, but one of the big things for working mothers is like backup. You know, if your child gets sick, where's your backup? If you can't get there to pick up your child, where's your backup? And I think if more moms, like I had a little group of moms where we would either, if one of us wasn't working, the other would do the pickup, or if our babysitters were doing the pickup, they would make an extra pickup for a child that didn't go to the same school. I mean, I feel like women working together might also be able to have more flexibility in their lives if they were able to figure out, you know, well, I'll do this for you this time, and I know you'll do it for me the next time.
Fantastic. Well, Rita Braver, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom around not only your job, but around motherhood and being a good wife as well.
Well,
41 years, I think you guys are coming on, isn't
That's
it?
right. That's right.
Congratulations.
41. No, we say in our family 41 wonderful years.
Okay, 41
That's
wonderful
how we
years.
describe it. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're
It's
welcome.
Okay.